Hello and welcome back to the course. In this section, we are going to start with the chapter 4, that is authentication protocols and the digital signature schemes, in which we are going to study in this session about the user authentication and entity authentication. User authentication and the entity authentication involves various factors. So first of all, we are going to study about the protocol. We are going to inform about what are the protocols being preferred for the authentication purpose. How they are being structured, what is the flow, and how they are going to be used into the actual practice. So, as far as the authentication is concerned, it is necessary to have some kind of information known to the user as well as system. So there are some ways in which to identify the authentication requirement and how to whom it should be implemented and where to be implemented. So naturally, when we come up certain means to authentication process, there and we got this kind of means that involves something the individual should know. So passwords, we are going to use the passwords in various communications. So password is one of the factor which is making effect on the security of the information. Second is a personal identification number, as we are going to, if we can transact with the bank through the ATM, then we can use the PIN and the answers to the pre-arranged set of questions. So this kind of information can be available with the individuals. So this is something which is needed for authentication. Next is something which is possessed by the individuals. So in cryptographic keys, there are certain ways in which the cryptographic keys are necessary. Some electronic cards are there, smart cards are there, physical keys are there, which are necessary that some physically that the user must possess with it. Now, this type of the authenticator is referred to as a token. So we can have the various examples for this particular physical presence of the possession of the user. Next is the something which is individual statically biometric available with the user. So likewise recognition by fingerprint or retina or face recognition. Likewise, so this is really directly related with the user's physical appearance. So once the user is physically present, then it can give the input to the system about its fingerprints on the retina and the face which is recognized by the system. And next is the individual does by dynamically or with the help of biometric identification. So it and the example involves the recognition by voice pattern, handwriting characteristics, and the typing rhythm. So these are the some means behind for which the authentications of the user identity is required. So we need to identify the difference between identification and the verification. As far as these two processes are concerned, which are very important in terms of making this particular identification of the users possible. So identification step involves presenting an identifier to the security system. That is, the identifier should be assigned carefully because authenticated identities are basis for other security services such as access control services. And the verification step involves the presenting or the generating the authentication information that verifies the binding between the entity and the identifier. So there are various ways to for the authentication. So some authentications are only single way. That is, both users should not be online. So it can be non-real time. So email is the best example for the today's scenario, which is in terms of growing the encryption. So it is not necessary for the senders as well as the receiver to be online at the same time. Okay, now the store and forward email protocol, such as a simple mail transfer protocol (SMTP) or X.400. So these protocols have been preferred for protecting this particular email. Now, but the email handling protocol not required to access the plain text form of the message. Uh, for basic requirement for this one-way authentication is trusting the mail handling mechanism and assurance to the recipient a message from the alleged sender. In remote authentication, that means users, if it is located remotely, then using the symmetric encryption process we can identify the users. So now here that there are some ways in which we can say some between two users there is a third party or third authenticator is present. So what is that? That is nothing but a trusted key distribution center, KDC. So now here, the two-level hierarchy of the symmetric encryption keys can be used to provide the confidentiality for the communication in the distributed environment. So this strategy involves the use of the trusted keys distribution center. Each party in the network shares a secret key known as a master key with the KDC. So KDC is known the master key of both users. Then KDC is responsible for generating the keys to be used for the short time over the connection between the two parties, known as a session keys. And for the distributing those keys using the master keys. So these session keys are distributed to the end users using the master keys to protect the distribution. Whatever the distribution message is there, so it is being protected with the help of master keys. Now we come across this particular algorithm protocol that is Needham and Schroeder authentication protocol, because as this protocols is being invented intermediately, or we can say after this particular user authentication scenario comes into picture. So this figure one is here, which is distributing which is showing the key distribution scenario. So we will come this explanation later, but with the reference of this particular key distribution scenario, we are going to get this particular Needham algorithm protocol. In this particular diagram, we can say it is proposal is initially put forth by the Needham and Schroeder in 1978. For the secret key distribution using the KDC includes the authentication features. The protocol can be summarized as follows. A, it is going to communicate with the KDC first, providing in the information with the norm. KDC is going to send the information to A again with the encrypted message. Then A again to B with another encrypted message. B again A with another encrypted message with the KS. Now here the KA is a key which is being related to user A. KB is key related to the user B. KS is a security key or the session key, we can say session key related to the session between A and B. And N1 and N2. N1 is our noun. N1 and N2 are the noun that we are going to see. This A and B again. So at last, the communication between A to B takes place with some encrypted message. The secret keys KA and KV are the shared between and the KDC and B and the KDC. Then it is that is A to KDC and B to KDC respectively. The purpose for this is to distribute securely a session key KS to A and B. Securely requires a new session keys in steps 2. The message in step 3 can be decrypted and hence understood only by B. Step 4 reflects the B's knowledge of KS, that is this key which is being shared by the B. Now step 5 assures the B of A's knowledge of KS and assures B that this is a fresh message because of the use of the nouns N2. Despite the handshake of the step 4 and 5, the protocol is still vulnerable to a form of replay attack. Now let's understand this particular key distribution scenario here. To the left, it is a key distribution center. A is a initiator and the responder B. So here we are going to get this particular key distribution steps and the authentication steps. So key distribution steps are initiated by A. to the communicate to KDC with the help of the identity of A, B, and nouns. So this particular encrypted message is being sent by the KDC to the A. Again, then A is going to communicate with the B with certain session key, and then this particular again communication between B to A takes place with certain session key encrypted message, but into nouns, and again A is going to communicate with B with the serial key and into noun. So what is this? We will see. Let us assume that this A is wishing to establish a logical connection. Now here the logical connection is necessary, but with the B, and requires one-time session key to protect the data transmitted over the section over the connection. Sorry. A has a master key KA known only to itself and the KDC. Similarly, B shares the master key KB with the KDC, showing the steps occur. So following steps are occurring. First, A issues the request to the KDC for the session key session KA to the protect the logical connection to B. The message includes the identity of A and B and a unique identifier N1. This is for this transaction, which is referred to as a nouns. The nouns may be timestamp or a counter or a random number. The minimum requirement is that it differs with each request. To prevent the masquerade, it should be difficult for the opponent to guess the nouns. Thus, the random number is good choice for the nouns. Second step is the KDC respond to the message encrypted using the key A. Thus, A is only one who can successfully read the message, and A knows that it originated at the KDC. The message includes two items intended for A. So, what are the stages or what are the items required for the understanding of A? So, one-time session key K to be used for the session, the original request message including the nouns to enable A to match this response with the appropriate request. The A can verify that its original request by request was not altered. That means A come to know that the message is not altered before reception by the KDC, and because of the nouns, this that is not a replay of some previous request. Now we are coming across the message include this message includes the two items intended for B. One time session key KS to be used for the session. An identifier of A it's not it's a network address, that is IDA. So in this way, the for both A and B will be confirming about their messages. So these last two items are encrypted with the KB, the master key, which is that is KDC shares with the B. There are two. They are to be sent to B to establish the connection and prove A's identity, because A's identity for B is important through KDC. So A stores the session key for use in the upcoming session and forwards to B. The information that originated at the KDC for B, namely E, KB, KS, IDA. So this encryption is being generated. Encrypted message will be generated. Because this information is encrypted with the KB, it is protected from the eavesdropping. B now knows the session key KS knows that the other party is A from IDA, and knows that the information originated at the KDC because it is an encrypted using the KB. At this point, the session key has been securely delivered to A and B, and they may begin their protected exchange. There is another concept, that is a mutual authentication between two users. So it enables the communicating parties to satisfy themselves mutually about each other's identity and the exchange of session keys. So centrally to the problem of the authenticated keys exchange, there are two issues in which we can see the confidentiality and the timeliness. So to prevent the masquerade and to prevent the compromise of the session keys, essential identification and the session keys information must be communicated in a encrypted form, not with a plain text or a plain this one encrypted message. So this requires the prior existence of the secret and the public keys. Timeliness is important because of the threat of the message replays. Such replays could not allow an opponent to compromise a session key or to successfully impersonate another party. So as far as this Kerberos protocol is concerned, this protocol is being preferred in order to make the authentication between the two communication parties. So it is an authentication service developed by the part as a part of the project Athena at MIT. The problem which is identified by this Kerberos protocol is it assumes an open distributed environment in which the user or at workstations wishes to access the services on a servers distributed throughout the network. Second, we would like to serve servers to be able to restrict the access to the authorized users and to be able to authenticate the request for the service. Now, in our environment, the workstation cannot be trusted to identify its users correctly to network services. So, three threats can be possible here. First is a user may gain access to the particular workstation and pretend to be another user operating from that workstation. Second is the user may alter the network address of the workstation so that the requested so that the request sent from the altered workstation appears to come from the impersonate workstation. And third is uh, the user may develop on exchanges and use the replay attack to gain entrance to a server or to disturb the operation. Kerberos relies exclusively on symmetric encryption, making no use of the public key encryption. Two versions of the Kerberos is there, version 4 and version 5. Version 4 is still implemented phase, and version 5 is corrects the security deficiencies of the version 4 and issued as a proposed to internet protocol like RFC 4120 and RFC 4121. So some requirements are there for the Kerberos to work out. First, publish paper or the document on the Kerberos is STEI in 1998. I'm sorry, 1988. So there are few requirements for the Kerberos to be operated. First is the security, reliability, transparency, and the scalability. So, in first requirement, the network eavesdropper should not be able to obtain the necessary information to impersonate the user. So, Kerberos should be strong enough that potential opponent does not find it to be weak link. So, this is a part of the security in which the weaker section is being identified. Next is reliability for all the services that rely on the Kerberos for access control. A lack of availability of the Kerberos services means lack of availability of the supported services. Hence, Kerberos should be highly reliable and should employ the distributed server architecture with some system able to back up another. Now, transparency is one of the important part in this operation or the Kerberos operation. The user should not be aware that authentication is taking place beyond the requirement to enter a password. It is next is the scalability. The Kerberos should be scalable. That the system should be capable of supporting the large number of the clients and the servers. So this suggests the modular distributed architecture. So based on the scalability, we can define the length of the architecture and the modularity of the architecture. So these are the protocols which are being preferred for authentication of the user's identity. We can have some digital signature schemes in the next video. Thanks for watching.